Hello everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Pretty Lonesome. This week we are in our most serious meeting place. I have our accomplice next to me, Bug. She's just sleeping in the passenger seat right now. I've driven us to the middle of the woods because we have a lot to discuss. Because this week I've been thinking a lot. I've come home for a bit of a rest. I'm genuinely in my girl interrupted era. Not even fucking kidding, okay? Which was unexpected because okay, I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with all my episodes. Probably not. I feel like people tune in occasionally, but there was like an episode maybe a couple of months ago where I touched on the fact that I knew I had anger to feel about certain things that had happened to me or happened in my life, but I couldn't feel it. I couldn't tap into this emotion that I knew was locked up somewhere, but I couldn't access it. Well, I'm here to let you know that it's been accessed, and I've been struggling with it. I've been struggling with that, okay? The thing is, usually I try and film podcast episodes after the fact. Like after I've kind of done a thing and learned a lesson or gained a perspective, I then try and bring that perspective because I think perspective is much more helpful than me sitting here and just actually crashing out in front of a camera. But then some weeks, this is my only option, okay? And this is one of those weeks. So let's talk about it. I think that this week's episode is really just going to circulate around the topic of betrayal because betrayal has been a big theme in my life. Massive theme in my life. It is the reason that I started my TikTok account, and it's pretty much the reason I do everything that I do, and somehow I'm not immune to it. Let's discuss. So I think that anyone listening who has experienced betrayal trauma, I think that they probably already know everything I'm going to say in this episode, and I do believe that being betrayed there are 2 times in my life that I have felt that I was clinically traumatized. There is only one other event in my life that we won't talk about that also made me feel traumatized, but that's irrelevant. What I'm saying is, I think a lot of bad things can happen during your life, and I think a lot of them are beautiful. I think anytime that you enter into anything that is good, you're also opting into feeling something that is bad. Sadness would be an example. If you are getting into a happy new friendship, relationship, or you're getting a new job and you're thrilled, you're also, if not consciously, you should subconsciously or just, unconsciously understand that with this comes at some point probably sadness because not everything lasts forever. You will lose this thing at some point, and it may not be a bad thing when you lose it, or it might be. The relationship might end, the friendship might end, but by opting in, you are believing that it is worth it if it does end. You're choosing to be happy for a period of time. Now, we are hoping when we enter these relationships that they don't end in a terrible way, obviously, right? We are opting for sadness. Sadness is an expected emotion. It is literally a sign of life being lived well, lived correctly. You can't have an entirely happy life. It wouldn't be possible and it would be boring. You need to have sadness to even appreciate happiness, but also to have happiness, you will feel sadness. We all understand this. I understand this. And I expect it. And I feel privileged every time I feel it, honestly. I feel lucky every time I cry because I remember that there was a point in my life where I was so numb that I never cried. And I never felt happy and I never felt sad. And I remember that was the only time that I have not wanted to be alive because I couldn't feel anything. I would rather feel like I'm on fire than feel nothing. So serious about that. Feeling nothing was the worst I have ever felt. And so it is obviously in moderation a great thing to feel happy and to feel sad, right? And like I said, as humans, we opt into these experiences by accepting a good thing. You also accept that at some point you may feel sad, okay, because of that good thing. And that's beautiful. What I personally have never opted into is a feeling of being betrayed. And I believe that as humans, we aren't put here to do harm to other people. And I don't believe that as we go through life, there is any good reason to do harm to another person without there also being good. Maybe you go through a relationship and harm is done in the breakup because you're both sad, right? But everyone can understand that there was also goodness there and that this was a natural cycle of things. That is different to going and unnecessarily inflicting harm for your own gain on another human being. I think that we have an actual responsibility as people on Earth to minimize harm, not just in our own personal lives, but in the entire world. If you see harm and you can prevent it or you can lessen it, if you can ease somebody's struggle, I do believe that you are responsible to do that. I don't agree with the sentiment that we don't owe people anything or that people don't owe you anything. I deeply believe that we all owe each other a lot. And that doesn't mean that you have to give all of your money to someone just because they have less than you. It doesn't. But within reason, within moderation, we should do what we can. And you should feel, naturally you should feel, okay, a push to do so. And you should know naturally where the lines are between not doing enough, doing too much, and doing the right amount, generally speaking. That should be a mechanism that is in your body, okay? For me, it is. For me, it's there. My friends, it's there for them. Something that I don't understand, and I've said this before, is for someone to be so selfish that they can see the harm that their actions will do to another person and actively choose to allow that to happen because there is something that they want. And for whatever reason, this other person stands in their way. A great age-old example would be cheating, okay? Your partner cheats on you because they wanted to fuck someone else, and their want for fucking someone else came above your feelings and any trauma that you may, any damages that you may accrue, okay? I've learned the word accrue and I love it, from their actions. They didn't care. They did it anyway. That's one example, right? But betrayal comes in all different types of ways. And like I said, I think there are 2 instances in my life, 2 things that I would say have ever traumatized me. There are a lot of things that have made me feel extreme amounts of emotion, but when it comes to trauma, I would, for me, identify that as something that I have as yet not been able to undo from my body and would probably take medical or serious psychological intervention to undo that damage. And that it is ongoing, lasting damage that has a noticeable impact on the way that I navigate the world, the way that I go about my life. And if that situation were to occur again in my life, I would not be able to cope. For me, that's when I say, oh, something traumatized me, like that's how I feel. There are 2 things in my life that have ever made me feel that way. And one of them was being betrayed. And the first time I was betrayed was many years ago now. And I try not to talk about it too much online because I just know that the person that I was involved with at the time who made me feel that way, I just want to give them the benefit of the doubt. I don't want them to hear me talking about them 5 years down the line. And it's just like, whatever. It was a long time ago. I wouldn't want someone holding that against me. But there is a difference between holding something against someone. Like, I'm not going to assume that you're still cruel 5 years later, 6 years later, or however long it's been. I'm not going to assume you're still cruel, but that doesn't change anything for me. I don't care if you're not still cruel. I haven't recovered. My nervous system hasn't recovered. When I think of how I tried to recover from my first real interaction with betrayal, I have to realize that I never figured out how to get over it. The first thing that I did was develop such a strong opinion of myself. I literally scrapped my whole life and personality and started from square one and was like, okay, who am I? And I formed such an opinion of myself that made me feel less shakeable, I think, in general in the world. And number 2 was because I couldn't quite figure out how to undo this damage. I just knew I needed to never, ever encounter it again. I could never be around someone who would inflict that upon me again. And that was the mission of the last however many years of my life. I have been absolutely terrified to be around someone who could inflict that on me again. And at times I've run into it, okay? There have been interactions I've had with friends where I have felt minorly betrayed in our safety of our relationship, for example, because maybe we're in a fight and they do something that is clearly in the moment malicious. It's like these are minor betrayals that haven't made me feel like my world is going to explode, but they rock me, and they rock me in a way that maybe it wouldn't rock someone else. I think if you have experienced the feeling of someone completely switching up on you and of you having to call into question the reality in which you live, and if you even know the color of the sky anymore, that kind of self-doubt, that kind of terror, that kind of uncertainty, blindsidedness, and feeling of terror that you can't trust anything or anyone, not even yourself, to know up from down, that kind of feeling being triggered, was I wrong about someone? That kind of feeling, for me at least, stirs up a lot, and I try and avoid it. I would also say that in trying to avoid it, I have developed an incredibly good sense of knowing who will inflict it upon me, because my life's mission is to never fucking feel that way again. I don't want to feel that way again. And I don't think that I could accurately discern someone who would betray me in a type of way that I haven't been betrayed before. But for someone who would betray me in a type of way that I have been betrayed before, it's like I can smell it on them. It's like I pick it up immediately. I know that you will do this. I know that this is, but I try not to be so judgmental, because I did go through a phase when I was trying to heal, or trying to just kind of get a grip on the world again, where I developed this criteria, post-betrayal criteria, where I was like, okay, I think these were all the things that would mean someone would betray me or would do that to me. And so no one with any of these characteristics can ever come into my life. The problem was that list was literally extremely, extremely long, and no one could pass it. And the only person that stayed in my life during that time was Millie. Everyone else I cut out. I was terrified. And I wouldn't even pass that criteria check on myself. Like, no one could pass. It was completely unrealistic. And I had to, over the years, notice which ones were just based in fear and which ones were more legitimate in terms of the boundaries that I was setting, and kind of readjust in that way. And it just took a lot of bravery and a lot of self-assurance and therapy to get to a point where I felt confident again in the world and in my choices and in my perceptions, and confident in the people that I was choosing to have around me. And an interesting thing that I observed with myself was the relationships that I chose to have after this initial like betrayal trauma experience were not trustworthy relationships, as we all fucking know, right? And interestingly enough, I never felt those emotions. I never felt that that wound was particularly poked, even in the moments that you guys all saw, okay? Even in those times where betrayal was obviously going on. The reason that it didn't poke that was because I absolutely always knew who that person was. And I was upset and I was hurt, but I was not surprised. And that shielded me from being blindsided. But I do think that the reason ultimately that I wasn't as rocked as I maybe could have been, and I was maybe more stable than people would have expected during quite a distinctive time of betrayal, was purely because, as hurt as I wasn't truly shocked, you know? And for me, it's always shock that gets me. You didn't really break my trust because I didn't really trust you. You know, betrayal recently become a theme in my life again, and I've really been struggling with it. I can't really explain the feeling that I get when I see that there's been sneaking, been lying. Slithering is like the best word I can say for how I think of what went on. Is just like, when I think of those things, my heart rate gets so fast. It's like I'm gonna have a panic attack, but it's not panic, and it's like anger and nausea rather than sadness, really. Guys, we have a very agitated dog because, oh my god, it was. Because there was another dog that just walked past the car, and that's really rude. That's so rude. I know. Oh, you're so brave. You want to come on my lap? Okay. Excuse her. Gotta cover her butthole. Don't start. I'm back in mum mode, and it's the funniest thing to me. So, is this still on? Oh, yeah. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. I am not an angry person. I've probably said this 100 times before. It's just not really my default. Like, I definitely see some people, their default is anger, right? I'm not an angry person. Like, it's never been my default. Maybe a little bit as a kid, I would get angry before I learned how to like regulate, you know? But since then, I would say it's pretty rare for me to actually like be prodded to the point of anger. Like, I just know how not me it is. And I know that if they've got me angry, you must have had to push me so far from myself, so far from anything that is me, or any emotion that naturally should live in this little body. And I've said this before, I don't think I was put here to feel rage. I don't think that I don't think anyone deserves to feel rage. I don't think anyone should undergo something that feels so unfair or feels so cruel that they feel rage. It's such a strong emotion. And every time I've had to feel it in my life, it just exhausts me. I don't think I'm literally built to feel it. Like, it takes everything out of me. It takes my life passion. It takes my love. It takes my care. It takes my warmth. It takes my humor. It takes everything from me. And what's particularly hard about feeling rage for me is that my job circulates strongly around having a personality and a sense of humor and an easy demeanor. And in moments like the one I'm in right now, I don't have that. It gets taken from me. And then I feel even angrier that it's been taken from me, because I'm like, you're fucking with my bag as well, bitch. Like, what the actual fuck is wrong with you? And I remember I went to a psychic like a couple months ago, and she was like a palm reader, and she was like, yeah, your personal life and your work are like almost identical. What the fuck do you do? And I was like, oh no. I've got a podcast, love. Anyway, so that makes sense that would piss me off. But I don't know what my point is. I guess I guess it's just all I can think about right now, so that's why I'm talking about it. But it's like, I've seen other friends of mine go through, I don't know, betrayal, I guess. And it's just like, every time it seems to be like the hardest thing for anybody to get through. And I've never figured out a way. Like, I still don't know a way. And now I'm in these shoes again where I'm like terrified because I'm like, okay, well, if I feel betrayed, the last time I felt betrayed, it like derailed my life for like an entire year. And I don't think that needs to happen again because obviously now I'm older and I'm stronger and I know more. And I've had so much time to work on it since then. But I just feel like I'm at this crossroads of like, where do I go from here? I don't know the right way. I'd never figured it out. Last time I didn't do the right thing. It took me a really long time to recover. And I don't want to kind of go through that again. But one thing that I found interesting was at the moment of the realization that I had kind of been betrayed in the way that I have been, I kind of had a decision to make in that moment. The last time that I felt betrayed, the example from a couple of years ago, I was kind of forced to be passive. There wasn't much I could do. There wasn't much I could say. And no one gave me any space to speak. And that was the thing that really tortured me for a long time. And typically when you tell your friends, oh my God, look what so-and-so has done, and it's a betrayal in one way or another, they will tell you in some shape, by some choice of words, they might tell you to rise above, right? Like that's like the common thing is like, and I would agree that the only way to upset someone who's hurt you is to disappear. I don't think that there is anything that you can say or do that will hurt them. I think that people who are willing to hurt you do not care if you are hurt. If you stand and scream and cry in front of them, that is not going to affect them. They might even like it. At the very least, it's going to do nothing. And at the very most, they might like it. Like, they're not going to feel bad. They already knew what they were doing. And so whilst I agree with that whole thing about like rise above and your absence is the only thing that can get under somebody's skin ever. If you want to get under their skin, you have to disappear from their lives. Do not be accessible to them. That is also something I've done before, which is the last time I was betrayed, I stopped posting on Instagram, which at the time was just local, like for my friends. But I stopped posting on all my social medias that were just like my normal social medias. And I didn't reach out and I actually moved away and I just disappeared. And that gave me a semblance of peace of like, they don't have access to me and they don't know where I am. And I hope that that concerns them kind of thing. But it took a long time for me to heal like that. And I'm not saying it was the wrong thing to do. But this time around, when I was presented with the same emotions and my heart rate was 5,000 beats per fucking minute and I was filled with rage, I decided this time I wasn't gonna do that again. And here is why. I realized I don't care if this person thinks I'm hurt or not. I don't care if they miss me. I don't care if they feel bad. I don't even care if they enjoy watching me in pain. They became benign to me a long time ago. Not to say they're dead to me. They're very much alive and they're bothering me with it. But it's like, your brain is so unimportant to me. Your way of thinking about the world, the way that you think about me is so wrong, so cruel, and so something I'm not interested in anymore, that I don't care if you think that I look incredible or if you think that I look like a fucking idiot. It's literally, it doesn't make a fucking difference to me. It doesn't make a lick of difference. And yet here I am still fucking angry. Why? Did I expect more? Did I expect different? I don't know. But I realized that getting that satisfaction of remorse from people who betrayed you is only worth it if that person holds some kind of status to you in your mind, right? Like, do I want them to think that I am cool? I don't really give a fuck. Do I want them to think that I'm tragic? Well, if I don't care if they think I'm cool, I also don't give a fuck if they think I'm tragic. They don't matter to me. However, betrayal always matters to me. And I can still be hurt by the fact that they snuck around in front of my face, that I feel creeped out by the fact that they intentionally came around me in my space and my body and in my presence and in my energy and then did what they fucking did and whatever happened. By the way, the details of which I have no interest in divulging on the internet. I'm just talking about my emotional experience through this journey because like the rest of it isn't worth it to me. Okay, where are you off to? Dude, then why would I go, could you chill? Then why would I go out of my way to, then why would I go out of my way to curate some kind of a fucking image that is more stoic or more whatever, you know? And I chose not to try and get under their skin because I don't care about their skin. I realized I care about my skin. And my skin feels fucking hot. You made it feel hot. You made my skin feel stupid and lied to and betrayed. And I thought, you know what? I'm actually going to rise above the rise above, and I'm going to call them up and cuss them the fuck out. And that's exactly what I did. I called them up and I cussed them the fuck out. Guys, I'm not going to lie. The way I spoke to this person, I even surprised myself. I was like, oh my God, I wasn't proud of it, okay? Anyway, so I basically just called them up and I cussed them out because I realized it didn't matter to me anymore if they thought that they got under my skin or not. You did get under my skin. I'm not impermeable. I'm a person and you hurt me and you're going to know about it. I don't care if they think that that's what they wanted all along. I don't care what they wanted. I want to cuss them out, so I'm gonna. I don't care if they get satisfied from that. I don't care about their satisfaction. I don't care about the rest of their lives. I don't care that they exist. I need to cuss them the fuck out, and I need to do it now. And it was interesting because, like I said, the last time that I had this kind of an experience, I did the opposite. I chose to rise above, and I chose to kind of, and it worked because the bitterness led me to basically where I am now. I don't think I don't get a kick out of it because I do sometimes, okay? I'll say it, yeah? I'll say it whenever they put my face on a fucking bus in London or something like that. I do get a kick because I know they see it and it's like, ha. But the bitterness is still there. Like, I never got to tell them, fuck you. I never did. And I made something great for myself out of that bitterness, and I went and I tucked myself away and I used that energy and that pain to create something great, and I did that, and I'm grateful that I did. I wouldn't have it any other way. But this time around, I just thought, let me just not feel silenced. How about that? I don't care what you think at the end of it. You already fucking hate me. Like, you must. Or you must think I'm an idiot. I don't know, either one. Doesn't matter. Let me just speak my piece, because maybe then 1/1000000000th percentage of the crushing weight that I feel in my chest down to my arsehole since knowing what I know, since finding out what I found out, would be maybe relieved. And I would say it relieved maybe 2% out of 100% of the anguish that I experienced. Betrayal's a funny thing because it doesn't really make any sense. I didn't really trust these people and I didn't really expect much more from them. But here I am, I still feel betrayed. And it's like, I think anyone in my position probably would. And I think, I don't know, maybe they wouldn't. I have a big problem with betrayal. I cannot stand people who use. I cannot stand people who lie. I cannot stand people who sneak. And I feel very disgusted physically in my skin when I know I've been around someone who had those intentions and then executed on them. Like a similar feeling to, I remember one time the last time I was cheated on. This is really gross and TMI. I don't care. I'm actually talking my shit today. The last time I got cheated on, okay, I physically felt, this is disgusting, I physically felt my vagina on my body for about a month. And so I just felt like that body part of mine had been deeply violated. And every time I would remember what happened, I wouldn't feel it in my chest. I would literally feel it in my cooch. That's disgusting, but I would. And it's a similar feeling now, but all over my skin because I hugged people and I was around them physically. And I'm just like, why? Like, you just could have spared me from it. You didn't have to know me. You could have had your cake and eaten it or whatever the fuck. You could have had your cake and eaten it too. Is that the saying? I didn't need to be part of this equation at all. You sought me out. You put me in the equation and then you took a piss on my leg. Like, I'm confused. And now I'm angry. And it's just like, I'm so sick of people being able to just inflict significant pain onto others and not know about the pain that they cause. And it's like, I do get about the rising above thing. And I think that sometimes that can feel better for the victim to rise above and to not give someone else what they want. But other times I think it can feel just as good, maybe better, to show them exactly how much they fucking hurt you. And for me, that's what I've been doing. I'm just really bored. I'm really, really bored of pretending things didn't happen or pretending that it doesn't bother me. I don't think that it makes me weird or weak or pathetic to be bothered by what someone did. I just think it makes me quite fucking normal. I think you might be the weirdo, mate. You know what I mean? I think you might be the weirdo in this equation. My dog is sighing next to me. She's like, the fuck is this bitch talking about? But like, I wish I had more coherent thoughts on this whole thing, on betrayal as a whole and as an experience. I never have. It always lights my nervous system up like a Christmas tree, and this has been no different for me. And I will have to probably go seek different therapy than I am currently in to deal with it, because it feels different. Like, the kind of therapy that I'm used to going to is very much like, I don't know, another way that I think about when something traumatizes you or disturbs an already present trauma is, for me, I can't talk about it. And I know I've been struggling recently because I haven't written in my journal for like a month, which is when I'm feeling really bad, I can't write about it because it just doesn't work. Like, my hand does not put the pages down, like the words on the paper, like it doesn't work. And I remember I tried to go to therapy to talk about what had been going on and this experience that I was grappling with, and I literally couldn't speak. And I know what it feels like to not be able to speak, because remember I used to be a fuck-ass mute when I was in primary school. I used to I just was a selective fucking mute. I remember that feeling because I remember wanting to speak and I literally physically couldn't. Like, it was like I didn't have a voice box. Like, I would try and say the words and I couldn't. It wasn't even that I would stutter. I physically could not make these vibrate. Couldn't do it. And it's the same feeling now when I go to therapy and I try and give the details. It's the details I can't do. Like, I can't give the time frame. I can't give who did what. I can't talk about it. Like, I literally can't. I think I have to go to like the one where they zap your brain. For me, what kills me is intentional cruelty just for the sake of being cruel. There's so many things I can forgive. And I have. And that's the worst part. I have forgiven horrific things by calling it compassion and by pretending to understand, or not pretending, but by understanding that, or maybe not even understanding, by believing that that person didn't mean to hurt me. That person didn't mean to be cruel. That person didn't mean to do what they just did. And it makes me feel so much sorrow when I'm in that position to feel that for someone, because it's like seeing a kid have a temper tantrum and I can only feel just pity. Like, I can see that you're sad about what you just did to me. It's like you're a helpless baby or like a dying puppy, and I only feel the urge to just help you, like, or soothe you, or just like, I just want to leave this situation. Like, I don't want to chastise you for what happened. I don't want to yell at you, because somehow in my head, I struggle to hold people accountable for things, because I'm like, I want to believe they wasn't intentional and that they lost control and that it was just not intentional cruelty for the sake of being fucking cruel or for the sake of being controlling or because they have a big ego. I liked to believe that if harm was done, it was not by choice. That was why I struggled to experience any anger, like I was saying, where I was like, I know these things have happened. I know I've had some experiences that I should probably be angry about, and I should probably be angry about them so that I can address the impact they had on me without just feeling empathy for the person who did them. But I can't feel that, and I don't know how to like unstick this stupid fucking thing in my brain, and I don't want to feel sorry for them, but I do, and I can't stop myself, and I want to stop myself. I hear people when they say that it wasn't fair, or that it was cruel, or that there was an impact even if they didn't mean to hurt me. I hear those words and they mean nothing. I can't feel them. They can't like permeate this like layer of fucking metal around my body that I've put up. And then I think that with this feeling of betrayal, I think that skewed so severely my perception of this person and these people and this whole situation that I've been stuck in, that I could finally see that I don't have any right to believe that it's not intentional, or that it's not about me, and just see things for the way that they are, which is, no, every time you were hurt wasn't an accident and wasn't something to just pity. And I've never been able to redirect any empathy or any compassion toward myself. And I thought that if I did, that I was a cruel person, because if I can understand that that only happened because certain needs weren't met or certain things weren't in place, that if things were perfect, they wouldn't want to have done that. And it was a victim of circumstance, and there were so many excuses, and I couldn't hold a soul accountable for these like earthly circumstances. I was in psychosis, I think. Now I'm hearing myself. Here's the thing. In my past experiences with betrayal, as painful as they were exactly what had to happen in order for me to view that person accurately, right? Because it's some things that sometimes someone does something that is inexcusable and will forever skew your perception of them. But I think what's been tricky is, I think sometimes betrayal can be very valuable. And it pains me to say it, because I hate seeing value in things that hurt me at the time, but I have to think in a more grown-up way about all of this and be slightly less emotional. I think that a lot of the time you can make a lot of excuses for a person and believe them to be someone that they simply are not. And I think for me personally, like I'm great at making excuses for people, and I think that the people that I love are always an exception to a rule, and they're not. And for example, I think it's easy to fall into this pattern of whoever you love becomes so unique to you, rightly so. You know everything about them, or you know a lot about them. And so when they do things that hurt you, it can be easy to make up very unique excuses and very unique reasons just as to why they might have done that thing. And I think I have this problem personally where someone can hurt me and I struggle so much to hold them accountable, because I will view them as a child. And I will see everything that happened that made them get to a point where they would do that to me. And I just can't help but feel a level of compassion, and just sometimes it's not empathy, it's more pity. And it's more like watching a puppy struggle, watching a baby cry. And it's like, even though it doesn't make what you did okay, I can't berate you for it. It feels wrong. Like it would feel like losing my mind at a child because they spilt milk. But you didn't spill milk. You actually really fucking traumatized me. But you know what I mean? It's like, I'll be fine. I am good. You, on the other hand, I don't know. You know? And it's like, I just get so wrapped up in everybody else and their reasons and their needs. And I struggle then to be angry or upset with anyone ever when they hurt me. What I've struggled with is I can make excuses for people and I can believe that that makes me a good and compassionate person. But at the end of the day, there will always come a time where you have to deal with the ways they made you feel. And you have to hold them accountable in order to feel those things. And for me, I guess betrayal was the key, because I get so wrapped up in my head of knowing who these people are that I love. And I'm like, no, but I just know them and I see why they did these things. And yeah, they were cruel things to do, but here's why and here's who they are. And like, I vouch for people more than they vouch for themselves. And they don't even ask me to vouch for them. I just do it because I'm an idiot. And these same people, hilariously, tend to be the ones who are like begging me to understand that that's not who they are. It seems. And they're like, no, look at this new evil thing I'm going to do. And I'm like, you're so cute. You're only doing that because your fucking parents didn't love you, you know? And you are only doing that because you didn't get hugged as a baby. Yeah. Come here, let me give you an hug. And they're like, no, I'm evil. I'm going to do you one better. All right? And I'm like, oh, poor little thing. Like, I'm so stupid. And then it gets to a point where betrayal comes in. And I think betrayal is interesting because I think when you're in a specifically toxic relationship, there are things that you would put up with that you never thought that you would, and that you've maybe cast judgment on other women for putting up with or staying throughout, right? And I think that all women who have been in that position know that they didn't get it until they were in that position, and won't now, on the other end, won't judge another woman for being in that same position. They will try and help them, but they will not judge, because they understand how easy it is to actually be in those shoes, even when you thought you never could be. And I think that when you're in that kind of a delusion with someone, there's a lot of lying, and there's a lot of abuse, and there's a lot of neglect, whether it's cheating, whether it's continuously having fake Snapchat accounts, whether it's continuously talking to other women, whether it's continuously having sex with other women. There's all these things, but at a certain point, you know it's going to happen because it's happened before. And it stops being the same level of shock And it's still betrayal, but you may not feel so surprised anymore. And I think in those circumstances, it takes them doing their big one for you to finally see the shock again, the cruelty, for it to be so apparent to you that you cannot stand it. And I think it's really sad, but I think it's where a lot of people end up in that position. For me, there's a point where the words traitor come to mind and treachery also spring to mind. And it's like when I have to start using biblical words to describe the ways that you betrayed me, it's a fucking rap, bitch. Like, you Trojan horsed me. Does that make you feel fucking better? Like, no, you didn't lie. Okay? You didn't sneak. You're treacherous. You're nefarious. You're not, like, it goes beyond what the modern British English vocabulary can fucking articulate. Times like these, I wish I knew Arabic. I know they would have the fucking word I'm looking for. They always do. But, like, genuinely medieval torture methods for you. I'll add that because I struggle to hold people accountable for the shit that they do, I don't process things as I should in lifetime. Like, a bad thing will happen and I will not focus on my needs in that moment. And I won't dwell on how it made me feel, and I will very much sweep that very, very far under my rugs. My bush. All goes up there. I did nearly check myself in somewhere. I'll be so honest with you guys, okay? I don't like to sound insane on the internet, but I nearly checked myself in. I'm not going to. I'm over it now. I'm feeling a lot better this week. I've started to go about my business as usual, just with a bit more malice in my heart, okay? And I think it's also tricky to be in these kinds of positions and to not act maliciously because of them. Like, that's always my biggest thing is like I said, I'm not an angry person. It takes a lot to get me to a point of anger. And then when I do get to a point of anger, I also get angry that you made me get to a point of anger because you're fucked up for that. Like, now I'm angry about two things and it's a cycle. And I hate that anyone could ever make me act out of character. I hate that anyone could ever make me lose myself more than I already have. Like, you can't take everything from me, bitch. Okay? Like, you can't have this too. It's one of those things of like, the only person that I have to be concerned about is me. I have to be concerned about if I'm angry and the effect that stress has on my body. I have to be concerned with my healing and how I treat my friends and family when I'm under a level of duress and when I feel so shaken and when I can't regulate my nervous system, not even for a second during the day. And I have to be considerate of my job and I have to get up and do work stuff and I have to act as if everything is fine. And I just, because I don't want to give it to them, I don't want to be like, oh yeah, you really affected me. And look, now I'm behind on everything in my life that was actually going fucking great. Thanks. It was going great. And now what? You've fucked up my schedule and my sleep schedule. Like, it's like you have this awful juggle of like, I literally want to curl up in a ball and fucking scream and die. And also I want to find you and kill you. But I can't do any of that. And I can't even indulge in the thought of it because I'm not going to let you take anything from me. But how am I supposed to then go about my day-to-day life when I'm carrying around the rage of 50 men? How am I supposed to do that? And I don't think it helps that, I don't know. It's just like, damn. Hi, I'm going to shut the fuck up now and I'm going to drive this doggy home. And I love you guys. Thank you for watching this week's episode of Pretty Lonesome. I will see you same time, probably not same place next week, because I'll probably be back in, oh, you know what? No, I won't be in LA. See you same time, same place next week. Love ya. Bye. Well, that was such an abrupt ending to this podcast, actually. I just have nothing else to say. I'm sorry. I'm exhausted. Talking about this is draining. And I am anxious about talking about this because I'm terrified, to put it very lightly, terrified of ever touching on this subject ever again. Or ever at all. It makes me uncomfortable and I don't enjoy it. And the entire concept stresses me out. But I post this for the same reason I post every weekly episode, which is maybe someone else feels the same way. Maybe we can relate and maybe we can have a nice little conversation about it. And I try not to worry about anything else because I think intentions are very important when you post online. And I think impact is also very important when you post online. And that's my hope. That's my goal. That's my aim, my wish. And, yeah, I'm fucking stressed, if you can't tell. Well, I'll see you guys same time, same place next week. I love you. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Pretty Lonesome. Buggy, say bye.